like to do is work on Bike Aurora Day next year. So really excited that this is something that they're going to be taking on, and can't wait to get moving on it. And we'll just support the Bike Aurora Day that we're planning. We'll see a lot more of that shortly. Thanks. Thanks, Councillor Marcus.
Councillor Thompson.
Go ahead, Joe.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Daw. I'm supportive of it. It certainly aligns well with some of the other initiatives we've instituted this year with regards to the sports plan. As it states here about our goal of being one of the most active municipalities in Canada. So I look forward to coming back. I would also just suggest that once, say, the framework's been developed, perhaps also there's a role for the Parks and Rec Committee to also have some input and be involved. But I look forward to learning more.
Other speakers? So, Councillor Maracas, Councillor Abel.
Thank you, Mayor Daw. I just wanted to ask why you mentioned bike racks, but the Cultural Centre needs to have a special bike rack for the time period. So I just mentioned that in your travels, if you find an antique one or something, that they have to get it approved at the Provincial Heritage or something along those lines, I think. So it's a bit of a challenge. Something along those lines. Thank you.
So, Councillor Maracas, if we support you, do we all get electric bikes?
Well, I guess we could always give a call to Magna and see if they're willing to.
I'm thinking actually of Councillor Thompson because he can't pedal.
I got one good leg.
It's hard to pedal with one leg. If there's no more speakers, calling the vote on the motion, please, all in favor. That's carried, Madam Clerk. Councillor Gardner.
Move as is, please.
Thank you. Back in for Councillor Humphreys. Thank you.
I actually was listening to CBC Radio, and they were talking about the province allowing municipalities to have red light cameras. And as I said, I've spent a lot of time in different parts of Aurora recently, and especially around the Go Park, and people are not happy about the speed at which commuters are going through their neighborhoods. So I just thought this would be a good opportunity to try photo radar, although I didn't ask if this would be a provincial, like municipalities are given the permission, but I'm not sure the logistics of it. I don't know if anybody at the table does know the logistics of it, but I think it'd be something to...
Regulations are still unfolding.
Okay, because I heard the province has approved this.
It's tabled, but it's not...
It's just tabled and not
passed.
approved? Okay. Thank you.
I've got Councillor Maracas, Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like it. I did see that CBC article. The only thing is that I think it's maybe a little bit too specific to just the town park. I mean, I'd like to see it put in as they stated within that article, and is within school zones and other areas. Just due to the fact that I think it's I'm not a big proponent of speed cushions. I don't think I'd like to go down that road. So I think this is something that we've been asking for, and I know Mayor Daw, you've mentioned that when people came forward about speed cushions, would you prefer a red light camera or a speed cushion? And the majority of people are like, yeah, we would like to see that red light camera, or the photo radar camera, just due to the fact that we all realize and understand that the only way to curb speeding and make things safe is by enforcement. And so I think that's what this does. And so I would like to expand this actually to more than just the town park, and just say that once we are given that ability to approve this, and we are giving that authority, that we look at what we need to do, the cost implications and everything, and that report can come back, and then we can go from there. And because I think it's great that we would move forward in this fashion to make our community safe.
Councillor Kim, Councillor Abel. I apologize. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Kim, Councillor Abel. Oh. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Kim, Councillor Abel. Sorry.
Okay.
Go. No. You go. Then you go. Then
Thank you again, Mayor Daw. Certainly I'm supportive of the first piece, which is declaring the town park area community safety zone. And if memory serves me correct, we've already made some of the schools community safety zones. I believe actually last term it was Councillor Gartner that came forward and asked that to the area around Hartman be a community safety zone as well. And so some of the schools already have that designation, and so certainly I'm supportive of the first part. You know, the photo radar cameras, as was mentioned, I mean, we still haven't seen all the regs around it. So I'd like to, I guess, perhaps get a little report back from staff to understand the implications, how it's going to be managed and so forth. But I have no issues with the motion before us once we get some more details.
Councillor Kim, Councillor Abel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know what, I missed that part in terms of the photo radar, but I'm in support of the motion. You know, the community safety zone, essentially all it is that the moving violation fines are essentially doubled. Nothing changes. My only concern about having this in the town park area is that a lot of times the local residents may be the unfortunate recipient of a double billed fine than it is the trespassers, or sorry, the other speeders who don't live in the area who are just driving through. That would be my only concern, and if the local residents are fine with those risks, I'm fine with that, because we do know that during rush hour that is a very busy neighborhood. And similar to what Councillor Marakis mentioned about the schools, you know, I looked at the York Region report done in 2014, and they actually implemented pretty well, I believe, regional safety zones, and it was majority were all near schools on regional roads. So that's already been implemented from a regional basis. I'm not sure about the photo radar part, but in terms of the official safety zones, based on the report in 2014, it's already implemented. And so for myself, I thought this would be great to implement this from a town perspective in all our schools.
We're not talking about schools.
And that would, and I was thinking along the same lines as Councilor Marakis in terms of this would be a good option instead of having speed cushions, because when you look at, you know, there were study results from 2014 as well, and it changed driver behavior. Police enforcement was necessary. It decreased speeds by 3 kilometers an hour, and 8 of the 9 locations that were studied, there was a significant decrease in traffic accidents. So it seems like there's a report out there, and it's favorable results. So I'd be in favor of the motion, and if staff can validate that we can implement this as a municipality, I'd like to have this around all the schools, and have annual reviews to make sure that those schools still exist, because sometimes, especially with private schools.
But we're not talking about schools at this point.
Okay, well, I could put an amendment to include that,
Then
but
please do
I'll
that.
wait for everyone else to get their feedback, and we can move
Councillor
forward.
Abel.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. Through you, perhaps Councillor Gardner can answer it. I'm not picking it up, but we do post signs if we do designate these as a community safety zone. Fines are doubled. That's the case. So, you know, we've got a couple of measures going in to control speeds and the concerns that neighbors have. We have the little signs that we have. They're posted all through town, and I don't know what their measurement is doing. We also have the speed pilot on the speed cushions, and now this. And we may be able to find the happy medium and work towards creating the safety features that we want. So I'm in support of this as well. It may be that the Traffic Safety Committee, once it's striked or whatever, will be able to use all these and be able to evaluate as we go down the road which would apply or which would cover all. So I think that's good. We're moving in the right direction, and using a couple of ways to address concerns that we have on the safety of our neighborhoods.
Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Dahl. And I just wanted to, kind of following up on Councillor Thompson's point, I agree with what's been said generally around the table. But so if we pass what's up before us, are we going to get a report back before we install it at Town Park? Because certainly what the cost implications are, and certainly other matters like that. So I'm just wondering if, and with respect to maybe other areas in town, I'm not sure if we need an amendment, or is this direction that staff has kind of taken from our comments thus far? So if I could get some clarification on that.
There's actually, there's a typo, first of all. So if the last line, staff be directed to them in the town park area, so presumably to install them, that's just a typo, so that's not a big issue. I would suggest that although I support the last clause in principle, excuse me.
Same.
I'm thinking, because there's no regs coming out yet, so I think it might be a little premature, Councillor Gardner, that's all. I think there's general support for it. I think it might be a little bit premature until we see how the regs work. Because it might have to, you might have to go through, some kind of consultation with your local police force or something like that. So I'm not sure. Madam Clerk, maybe you could help us out what might be the best way to, Councillor Gardner?
Councillor Maracas has a good suggestion that staff be directed to report back to council on how this can be implemented.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks
Second.
for the typo correction.
That's
With respect, when I was listening to this program, I knew that schools could be community safety zones.
I'm just going to go to
Okay.
the, Councillor Humphreys, I believe you seconded that. Are you
Sorry.
okay with the wording change? Thank you.
I don't think it's my turn to speak anyway.
Councillor.
Thank you very much. I was just looking for a little bit of clarification, and then, like I said, I think we're all in support of the intent of the motion, and just looking for some more information when it comes forward. So thanks to Councillor Gardner for bringing this forward.
Just a couple of comments. It's interesting because we get to meet quite often with various ministers and things like that, and you wonder whether or not you ever make any progress. And we actually met with Minister Nackby last fall. So the police chief was there, a number of community groups were there, Mayor Scarpitti, who is the chair of the Police Services Board, Mayor Van Bynen and I, and Mayor Scarpitti, Mayor Van Bynen and I all said that we will take the heat if the province wants to go with photo radar. And I'd completely changed my opinion from a couple of years ago, because the reality is there's just not enough resources. And the most common complaint we get is speeding, without a doubt. So it's quite refreshing, actually, to see that the government, and we're not the only ones, I have no doubt that we're not the only ones. To Councillor Kim's point, the interesting thing is that when the police put radar in a particular area in response to resident requests, more often than not, the first people caught are local residents. Because you're not targeting someone, speeding is speeding. And so I'll just say that to the people who will email in saying that it's simply a cash grab, and I will respond to that by saying, it's only a cash grab if you speed. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I wasn't aware that we could declare an area a community safety zone. I thought it was mostly around school zones, but I think that we can. I think we have the authority. And with respect to the police, I mean, if police don't come out and enforce it, there's no point. So they've got to come out and give some tickets so that people know. But the third thing is, it is because of the way the GO parking is. I mean, it's a direct result of the GO parking for this particular area. So it's, in this case, it's not the residents. It is the people who are using the area on a very part-time basis. So, thanks.
I'll put a quarter on the first person that's caught in photo radar as a local resident.
Well, we'll see what happens, but also hopefully the
Counselor.
GO commuters will be more respectful of the area that they're driving through as they hurry to and from work.
Any others, Councillor Kim?
Yes, three, Mr. Mayor. If Councillor Gardner, if she's going to change the language, if just let her change it. If we could, if she wouldn't mind having the staff report include having safe zones for all schools, and come back with a report including that.
That's great. I mean, it's kind of, this motion is very specific, but I don't see why, unless Madam Clerk says we can't, I don't see why we can't include that, having,
First of all, Councillor Humphreys had to leave. Her father-in-law is in the hospital.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask Councillor Tom to second your motion and
Thank you.
the changes.
thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tom. I apologize.
If, through you, Mr. Mayor, if our clerk feels that we can add a clause that addresses school safety zones,
Ms. Van
community
Leeuwen.
safety zones around
Ms. Van
school.
Leeuwen, are
Ms.
not
Van Leeuwen, is
school-
that you?
Aren't school zones already designated community safety?
No. I had that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Simonovskis. We get confused.
Sorry, so the question is,
Are not school areas already specified as community safety zones?
through you, Mr. Mayor, no, the town has to.
And we haven't done that.
We have for
Some
probably
areas?
most of the schools, if not all. I know there's been a few added in recent years. I can bring back a memo as to which sites have the safety zones in place.
So then I think, Councillor Gartner, to add that as an amendment. Councillor Gartner, and you want a second to Councillor Tom? Councillor Maracus, sorry.
I think Councilor Maracus has a comment that might add to the motion.
I was just going to suggest, I mean, I think it doesn't make sense that school zones aren't community safety zones. Why don't we just declare that all school areas are community safety zones?
Well, I'm fine with that. That's what I suggested Councillor
And
Gartner did.
I don't understand why they're not. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that's just a no-brainer. That's another no-brainer.
I thought they were, but if not,
Yeah. And then I would just suggest, sorry, to further to that is that last clause, as Councillor Kim mentioned, we have it saying, what is it, that staff be directed to report back to council?
that's already done, right? That's
How to
already done.
implement it? I would say to implement it within all community safety zones.
Well,
Maybe that might be a better wording to, so that includes the schools, that includes everywhere, which is what Councillor Kim was asking for, and I think I was
Well,
asking for as well.
I'm going to go back to the mover of the motion.
Sure.
Well, it may be interesting. I mean, we may want to have we may want to have even feedback from this particular community as to whether or not they want them. I don't know whose jurisdiction it is. If we tell a neighborhood they have to have photo radar, do they have to have photo radar? Or do we need to consult with the community?
Well, at this point, we don't know because
We
there's
don't
no
know.
regs.
So
we're
that's
going
something
around in
that,
circles here. I think staff's coming back with a report
That's
which
right.
will help us through this.
so I think maybe we should wait until the staff report comes back.
Okay.
Maybe we'll need to have a public meeting.
Okay, so could you reprise then the motion for us, Madam Clerk? The changes.
So it's the last clause, and it would be it further resolved that when the provincial government gives municipalities the authority to set up photo radar cameras, staff be directed to report back to council on how the program can be implemented in all community safety zones.
All right, everybody good on that? Calling the vote then, all in favor, please. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Councillor Gardner. That, there is no regional report. New business general information, Councillor Kim, I will start with you.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tom. Councillor Abel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was a OMB for mayors, I think a couple of weeks ago, for all the GTA mayors or something along those lines. And that was-
Well, yeah, not a no, well, yeah, there was a Premier Summit. She has them quarterly.
I seem to recall a headline on, some of it was to do with OMB.
Mhm.
Okay. And I know Councillor Maracus is on, and may or may not have been in attendance, and I was wondering if that information had been shared. As well, Hazel McCallion's growth, she had a summit at the region where only mayors could go. And
That was on the growth plan.
the growth plan, which is more or less what the OMB is about. When you can't agree on growth plans, then, so I'm wondering if those comments are being shared with,
Those are being shared out of the Premier's office.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Mayor Dow, we all heard recently that the province has tabled a bill that impacts the region with regards to the election of the chair, but also for something that you've advocated for in the past with regards to an alternate Can you share if there's any discussions going on at the region about these changes? I know nothing's been passed yet, but I know that we've talked in the past about the region having a governance committee being struck, and I'm just wondering if there's any initial thoughts that you can share.
There was a report that came forward this past month from Committee of the Whole, and that was before the province tabled the bill. So there was on governance, so alternate selection, how to move forward through that, looking at the elected chair, looking at some of those issues. And then when the province tabled their bill, the region elected to defer any further action on that governance report until January, after we see exactly what the province is doing. So at this point, the region is waiting to see what the province has got on the table. So I'm afraid I can't give you much more than that at this point. You're welcome. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is further to Mr. Warenberg's comments, phase 2, the trails and Metrolinx. I don't know, through you, perhaps to Mr. Mino, or just as a comment, phase 2 hasn't come to council yet, but it would depend on not only Metrolinx, it would also depend on the developer and the site plan they put forward for, in this case, phase 2.
Mr. Rumino, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to assure council, when council approved the subdivision plan a year ago, we've secured that trail corridor. I think what Mr. Warenberg is speaking to is trying to secure through Metrolinx the pedestrian underpass, and we have made we have advised Metrolinx that it is council's request to secure those underpasses as part of their corridor expansion work on the rail line. So they are aware of our request, and we're meeting with them on a regular basis, and we'll continue to stress that that is a commitment that we've made.
So, Mr. Moon, do I understand correctly? That's already a direction of council? Thank you.
And as a follow-up, are we in a power position with Metrolinx in this case, in cases like this?
Mr. Moon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We've made our request clear to them, and they are taking that under advisement as they move forward with their corridor expansion plan. So we'll continue to make the point that we want those underpasses secured.
You'll let us know. Thank you.
Councillor Maracas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one. I don't know if anyone's been driving along Wellington the last couple of days, but I mean, the region has, I'm presuming it's the region and not us, but they made their stress cuts and they filled in the cracks, and when you're driving over it, you can't even drink a coffee. It's just blah, 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 the whole way down. And so there's been some complaints about it. So I'm just wondering through you to Mr. Simonoskas, are they going to fix this, or are we going to have to deal with this throughout the winter?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they have fixed it. That's the result. Not being facetious, they've done crack sealing, and that's part of the road maintenance. I think what you'll find is when the weather does warm up, that tar will smooth out. But yeah, unfortunately, with the colder temperatures and the timing that they've done it, that's probably going to be how it would. Maybe the snow plows will shave it off a little bit, but yeah, unfortunately, with the cold temperatures, it's not going to move very much.
Okay, so I guess everyone stay away from drinking a coffee when you're driving along Wellington for the time being.
Or a sippy cup.
Yeah.
Thank you, councillors. We have no closed session, so if we could go to the reading of the bylaws, please. And there was one added. Someone move those, please. Councillor Thompson, thank you. Councillor Gardner, you want to second those? You're good with that? All in favor of them? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And last would be the confirming bylaw. Councillor Kim, Councillor Tom. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Abel, Councillor Maracas. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff.